Hit and Mix came up to us a couple of weeks ago, and they said, hey, you're going to check out this new RipX application, which they have created.
Yeah, specifically the DeepCreate.
It's wonderful. They sent us a couple of codes, and we kind of got down and had a look through. So they sent it to us, but they haven't said anything about what we say, but we have said what we want to say about the whole situation. So we've got 2 videos coming up about what this is. Unsure about what we'd still call it. It's not a DAW. It's not a sampling machine. It's a bit of everything.
Yeah, it can do a lot. I mean, it kind of is a DAW to a degree, a DAW, but it's really sample manipulation, sound design, and you'll see, I mean, it's got some crazy sound design built into it. So
we're going to see 2 videos. One, I had a little bit of an overview, and I looked at using audio and then converting it to MIDI, and then Sunwarper looked at ripping out stems and remixing and basically creating new sounds from old sounds.
Yeah.
So I woke up to a very exciting message from him this morning. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do is we'll show your video, we'll talk about it, and then we'll switch to mine, because they're pretty different in context. And then I want to give, like you said, a little preamble about what was so exciting in mine. But yeah, let's go to yours first.
So a few weeks ago, Hit and Mix, when they reached out to Sunwarper and I to introduce us to their new RipX application, the instant thought in my mind was, what sets this apart from other DAWs or other music apps? What's going to make me use this over Ableton, which is my first love? And after a bit of playing around, what really struck me was the amazing ability that it has to use both MIDI and audio and manipulate them in the same way. You can manipulate audio as if it was MIDI and MIDI as if it was audio. And this is really cool. This is really interesting. So I wanted to play around with it, show you what we can do with it. So we're going to use this microphone here, just this little standard microphone, and we're going to create a bass line using my voice, convert it into MIDI, and then use a preset bass to turn it into a proper bass line. So let's take a look. So now that we are in RipX itself, you can see that has a fairly standard layout. We've got the piano roll in the middle. We've got our inputs or our layers on the left hand side. This is how we build our stems. We have our inputs for selecting them. And over on the right hand side, as you can see, we've got how we manipulate the sounds that we put into RipX itself. So I'm going to start by making a loop. It's always a good place to start by making a loop. Just at the top here, just drag that across like that. As you can see, this white line here, I've just put in a standard loop, drum loop. It's from RipX himself. You can add your own drum loops if you wanted to, but I'm just playing around with the stocks. So let's listen to it. Nothing to write home about, just a standard 4/4 drum beat. And yeah, we're just going to add to this. So we're going to come over to our layers section. We're going to hit add, and we're going to come down to bass. We're going to select our input for bass, which in this case is the audio box USB, because that's where this mic is going into. We're going to make sure it's selected, and we're going to come to the front of the loop itself and just hit record. Do 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 do. Cool. So, and we have a bass line of my voice, which is going to suck. We're just going to play around the quantization. Just make sure everything's on. The beginning parts are on what they should be. Cool. So let's try listen to this now. Do 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 do. Okay, that's my voice, which is pretty terrible, but we do have a bass line, which is quite interesting. Just going to delete the stuff we don't need. Do 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 do. So don't need this top one. Don't need this guy here. Don't need this guy here either. Right, so we're going to start by just making that a bit more malleable, I think is the word. We're going to flatten some of the pitch just to get some of the warbles out. We're going to quantize the pitch as well, just to make it a little bit more even spread. And you can do this live. Do 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 do. Take that down a little. Do 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 do. Cool. All right. Do do do. So we have it there. Do. So now that we have our MIDI line / audio line, basically now we have our bass line. Now is our chance to make it more of a bass line, because it's still very much my voice. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to come across to this sound and time bar over here. Now you'll see that this is a slider, which is very nice and very lovely, and it means that you can blend the sound. So if you wanted, you could have some of the original input and then cross it with some of the VST bass. But yeah, and there's no reason for you to need to duplicate anything or anything else. It's just there, ready to go. Really nice feature. Now, in this instance, we want the whole of the bass. We don't want any of my voice. That's for best practice, trust me. And what we're going to do, we're just going to put that back. There we go. Put that there. We're going to put that there, and we're just going to hear what it sounds like. So. Cool. All right. So we can go into the intricacies. It's sounding a lot more like a bass, but there's a few bits that still sound a bit more digital. So we're just going to go into individual notes, and we're just going to play with the slide in some of these cases, just to kind of connect them up a little bit more, just so they're not so input like that. There we go. So. Gonna come for this guy here. Just slide him up a little bit as well. So yeah, as you can see, fairly simple, really good way to call it. Again, just flip something on its head using your voice, turning it into a VST. Now, I used a bass VST from the stock bank here in RipX, but you can import your own sounds if you wanted to. If you have the native access, for example, you can import that and use massive if you wanted to, or anything to that matter. The point is that the flexibility is there and you can do it. So yeah, hope that's been interesting for you, and yeah, see you next time. May I just apologize to everyone who had to listen to me singing. Thank you for
I don't know, man. I think you've got an a cappella career ahead of you.
We'll see what's going. If I stick a load of Valhalla reverb on it, we'll be
Ooh,
right.
Or throw the acapellas in DeepCreate and just do whatever you want with it.
Very much so, yeah. That's what I really liked about it. It's the idea that if you don't necessarily know how to play bass, or if you know what the key you're in or anything like that, you can just sing it into a mic and it will pick it up for you, and then you can manipulate that MIDI.
And it has a detect scale, and it detects the BPM, so you could figure out what scale you're in too if you're just like singing.
Completely.
I mean, one of the cool things that we were talking about while that video was playing is
apart from how to spell acapella.
Well, yeah, that took a couple minutes, but we got there. Don't worry, we got there. But the fact that, like, I always have issue with MIDI orchestral sounds, right? You know, you add the automation to make it sound a little more human in the slides, but I play guitar. So theoretically, I could play a guitar part, put it in DeepCreate, and then up the cello to 100%, and I'd have a cello with the slides and the human imperfections that I would want. And I just think that's really cool. What do you think? You gonna throw it in some sounds? Throw some sounds into your music?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're talking in the round robin later about flipping our workflow. I always come from a basis of chords. I tend to just kind of write the chord progression first. And the idea of not having anything like that, not having a tempo, not having a key signature, anything, just kind of like humming whatever's coming out of my brain, and then converting that. What I want to do is put native access VSTs in there, which you can do.
Yeah.
And then just kind of upgrade and go your sounds from there. It's in terms of flipping my workflow, which is what I'm about at the moment. It's just a very good way of doing it. Yeah. What I haven't done is what you have spent your time doing on RipX. Yeah. So tell us more about, before we get into it. Tell us what you've been doing with it.
This, I think, is the most, for me, promising part of DeepCreate, and just even AI stem splitting in general. It's just stem splitting. You can take a song or a track or anything like that and put it in. Even Koala has a stem splitter, but it splits the stems of the track. So you'll get the drums, you'll get the guitar, you'll get the bass. So what I did was I threw my song farther into it, and then I split all the sounds into layers. And then I just found a couple of sounds individually, like soloed layers, and made some samples out of it, did some repitching and things like that, threw it in the SP, and made a quick little track. So the video is going to start with like a quick example of the track I made. I'm going to flesh it out for my video that on my channel that's going to come out, I think, on Tuesday. So if you like what you see and want to see more, you can head over there to check it out when it comes out. But it's pretty crazy. So do you want to check it out?
Yeah, let's go to it.
All right, here we go. Hey friends, Sunwarper here, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at Hit and Mix's new DeepCreate. And one of the most awesome parts of this program is that you can put in a full track or any kind of audio, and it will split it by stem and separate them into layers. So today we're going to take a track of mine called Farther, and we're going to separate them, find some interesting sounds inside the stems, and then do some effects within DeepCreate because there's a ton of really cool effects. Then we'll throw whatever we create into the SP and make some music. So what I find so fascinating about this program is you basically have a cheat code for creating new samples from anything, tracks you've already done, sounds you've created, anything like that. But what's so powerful about it is you can take these ideas and separate them into layers and just choose one part of it and then treat it with changing pitch, formant filters, or reverb delay, anything like that within this program, and then you have these new samples that sound nothing like what the origin was. So it's a really interesting way to just introduce new sounds if you're feeling stuck creatively or looking to expand your horizons in terms of sound design and things like that. So with all that out of the way, let's take a look. We'll move in the song and then we'll see what we can create. Alright, so I just loaded in a song, and here you can see you can separate it by voice, bass, other sounds and instruments, drums and percussion, and then you can save the stems. So we're gonna hit rip, and now you can see up on the left that it is splitting the stems, and it's gonna take about 4 minutes. I'll cut all that waiting time out, so I will see you in a second. Okay, so we've got the track split up. You can see all of the stems here. It shows audio and MIDI. So you can hear it's actually separated even the pad into the individual note. That's the original opening chord, but you can just play individual notes from that chord. So let's solo the percussion and see what we got going on. Let's hear what the kick sounds like. So some pretty cool kick sounds. We could even bounce those out and use those for some of the sounds that we're going to use on the SP. The main thing that I want to look at is this voice. So let's check it out. So here's my singing. In the of time. So I want to see. In the chorus. Oh, I like that. So in the chorus, we've got this really interesting looped vocal, but in separating the stem, it's mixing a little bit with the synths when the stems were separated. And so it created this very ethereal, otherworldly sound that's, I mean, you tell me, but it sounds kind of like a human voice, but more synthetic. And I think that might be what we're going to use. And we're going to set a loop. You just hit L on the keyboard and you see this blue line, that's your loop. Alright, so the first thing that I think I'm going to do, there's a lot of pitch variation, so I'm going to flatten the pitch a little bit. It's also added an octave up, but put the volume very low. Alright, so we're going to add a little cello to it. And then I think we're going to put some delay. Let's get a little reverb maybe. Just a little. Alright, so we're going to export the loop. And I'm just going to do just the loop. Single file, because that's all we're doing. Alright, and then we'll just hit export. Let's check out what the guitar has to offer. Let's go to that first section. Let's take that first chord progression and we'll loop it. Alright, I like that octave up. So I think those are the two loops that I want to move into the SP. So we're going to move those into the SP and then see what we can create from there. Okay, so I've got the two stems moved onto my SP. So here's the first one. And here's the synth. So now what I'm thinking is I've got 808s here. So I'm thinking we'll just put in some drums with the pattern. So the first thing that I want to do is pitch this down. And then the next thing that I want to do is chop this up. So I'm going to go here and chop. Now let's see what happens if I do auto mark. Let's do time division 4. Alright, so I think we've got something there. If you want to see the rest of this video, I'll be posting it on my channel at Sunwarper if you want to check it out, and I will have a more fleshed out beat, but this is a pretty good starter. So just to show you, we haven't even touched this other sample from the strings. Well, synth, really. But so we took this and made some sounds. So I think to further it, what I want to do is add some bass and things like that. But this is just a quick look at DeepCreate and how you can create some awesome samples from any sound you can think of, other songs, previous songs you've made. If you've got a song that you're just not feeling to finish, try throwing it in DeepCreate and see maybe splitting the stems and then doing all these crazy additional sounds and reverbs and things like that. You'd be surprised what you can create. So thanks for watching and back to the show.
Well, I mean, okay, all right. So you can take something, split it up, and you've got audio, MIDI, all playing at once. You can manipulate the hell out of it and create something new. There's so much you can do here. There is so much you can do here. You sounded like you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like I barely scratched the surface, but just in terms of that sample splitting, creating these stems and then doing all these effects to it, adding the strings on top of the vocal chops was really cool, and adding the octaves at a lower level, and then just throwing in the SP, changing the pitch and chopping it and making something that sounds nothing like the original song. That's a great way. And that's kind of that thing that Eon Lake always talks about, remixing a song that's not even released. You know, when you're just creatively in a rut and you need something, it's like, well, if you've got an idea, just throw that idea, split the stems, and go from there. And the power really of the app is the fact that you can do all this other changes. Like, you did it a little bit, but you can quantize the audio that's also MIDI at the same time. You can quantize it and move it around, so you can change arpeggios into chords or anything like that and then stretch them out and do all. It's just like, it's so intricate. And with that intricacy comes a bit of a learning curve. So there is a bit of a learning curve to it.
Yeah, and I think it's not like something that you're going to get instant gratification out of. And it can, I look at the UI, and there could be a bit of work done on the UI and kind of the workflow of it itself. But once you get past, you understand that how it works and how it's centered. It's a very powerful tool. It is a very powerful tool, and there's a lot that can be done there. Question is, are you going to add it to your repertoire?
I think so. It's pretty crazy. I think I know enough about it to do kind of what I want from it, but I'd have to spend a little more time learning to really expand on it, moving things around and stuff like that. But I do think it will make its way in, because it's It's just another tool in the toolbox, right? Like, I don't think I'll always use it, but if I'm short on ideas, or if I want to try something new or figure out a new chord progression that I don't normally think of, take one of my old songs and move it around or something like that, I think there's a lot of merit there.
There's a lot to be done, and we've only barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
The guys at Hit and Mix are continuously updating it, and they're continuously bug fixing, which is always very nice. Very friendly people.
Yeah, I should say that. So the RipX without DeepCreate, I think, is about $100. The one that comes with DeepCreate is $198. And Curtis, you can put a link in the chat, and then I'll put one in the description if you're watching this back, or if you're watching this on a podcast platform, it will be in the description.
Very much.
I believe there's a 21-day trial as well if you want to check it out. It's worth checking out for sure, and we really appreciate them sending it over. We had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, thank you for that. Very, very much. Thank you for that. So I'm getting the link to put in the chat for everyone, and it's very much worth your time if you want to give it a check out. And yeah, like I said, we're talking about flipping our workflows and trying something new. It's a very good way of doing that. So yeah, go check it out. So if you like that clip, consider checking out our full live stream Audionautic Deep Space Network on YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, and you can also join us for the live stream of said podcast at 7 p.m. UTC, 11 a.m. Pacific.
Wonderful, yes. And finally, we have got the Audionautic Radio playlist, which is down in the description below. All the latest and the greatest of the underground electronica world that you see there. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, if you're looking for some new music or checking out some of the newest in electronic music, head to that link in the description, and we will see you in the next ADSN. Thanks for watching.